I orchestrated a dazzling Alaskan cruise for my kids, only for my stepmother to cruelly swap them with my sister's perfect twins, claiming mine were unworthy. My fiery retaliation left the family stunned. I stood in my cozy Denver kitchen, the aroma of fresh coffee mingling with the crisp October air seeping through the cracked window. My fingers danced across my laptop, finalizing the last details of a dream I'd been weaving for months, a breathtaking Alaskan cruise for my two kids, Ethan, 10, and Sophie, 8. This wasn't just any vacation, it was a dazzling escape to glacier-capped horizons, a chance for my children to chase adventure with their grandparents, my father, Tom, and his second wife, Margaret. I'd poured my heart and savings into this, $15,000 for premium suites, whale-watching excursions, and all-you-can-eat buffets. Every penny screamed sacrifice, but their joy would be worth it. I'm a 38-year-old graphic designer, a single mom who's clawed her way through late nights and freelance gigs to give Ethan and Sophie a life brimming with love, even if it meant skipping my own vacations. My kids are my wildfire, untamed, vibrant, and gloriously alive. Ethan's endless questions and Sophie's infectious giggles fill our modest home with chaos and warmth. But to Margaret, they're a tornado of bad manners. Her voice, sharp as a blade, still stung from our last family dinner. You've let them run feral, Claire. No discipline, no respect. I'd bitten my tongue then, swallowing her venom to keep the peace. Family, I told myself, was worth it. That evening, as I tucked Sophie into bed, her hazel eyes sparkled with anticipation. "Mom, is the ship really as big as a city?" she whispered, clutching her stuffed orca. I grinned, brushing a curl from her forehead. "Bigger, sweetheart. You and Ethan are going to rule that boat. Ice cream for breakfast, northern lights at night." Ethan, eavesdropping from his bunk, chimed in, "Grandpa said we might see a bear." Their excitement was a wildfire, and I was the kindling burning to make this perfect for them. The cruise was my gift to them and a rare break for me. My parents would chaperone, basking in grandparent glory while I caught up on deadlines. I'd booked everything through my corporate account at Pinnacle Designs, leveraging travel insurance for flexibility. I even drafted a contract, thanks to my coworker Jake's advice, to ensure Margaret and Dad honored my terms. The trip was for my kids, no exceptions. Margaret signed it with a flourish, her smile as fake as her designer handbag. I should have seen the storm brewing. At 6:52 p.m., my doorbell chimed, unannounced. My stomach knotted. Margaret never knocked. She invaded. Sure enough, she swept in, her perfume choking the air, Dad trailing like a shadow. "Claire, darling," she cooed, her voice dripping with saccharine poison. I forced a smile, gripping the counter. "Hey, good to see you. I was just wrapping up the cruise itinerary." Her lips curled into a smile that could freeze lava. "Oh, about that. We've made a tiny adjustment." The world slowed. My fingers tightened, nails biting into my palms. "What adjustment?" I asked, my voice a low growl. Margaret perched on my bar stool, crossing her legs with theatrical grace. "We've decided your sister Lauren's kids, Ava and Noah, will go instead. They need this more." Her words hit like a sledgehammer, splintering my composure. "Excuse me?" I choked, disbelief searing my throat. She sighed as if I were a petulant child. "Your kids are chaotic, Claire, unruly. Lauren's children are polite, well-mannered. They deserve this opportunity, and frankly, you need to learn how to parent properly." A memory flashed. Last Sunday's dinner at Dad's sprawling Boulder estate. Ethan had knocked over a water glass, his enthusiasm for a story about school outpacing his coordination. Margaret's eyes had narrowed to slits. "Control your son, Claire. He's a menace." I'd laughed it off, deflecting with, "He's just excited, Margaret." Kids, right? But she'd leaned forward, her wine glass glinting. "Not kids. Your kids. They're wild animals. Lauren's children sit still, say please and thank you. Maybe you should take notes." I'd clenched my fists under the table, my sister Lauren smirking across from me, her perfect twins poised like porcelain dolls. Dad, as always, stared at his plate, mute. Now in my kitchen, that humiliation roared back. "You replaced my children," I said, my voice eerily calm, a volcano moments from erupting. Margaret waved a dismissive hand. "Don't be so dramatic. Ethan and Sophie will have other chances. Ava and Noah have had a tough year. Lauren's divorce, you know. They're easier to manage. It's for the best." Dad shifted, his eyes darting to the floor. He never challenged her. Never. Rage surged, white-hot and merciless. My kids, my loud, messy, beautiful kids, weren't good enough for her? I didn't scream. I didn't beg. Instead, I reached for my phone, my movements deliberate, lethal. "No problem," I said, my voice silk over steel. With a few taps, I canceled everything, every reservation, every deposit, every dream. The cruise line's confirmation email pinged, full refund processed. Travel insurance and my corporate pull made it effortless. Margaret's smile faltered. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice spiking. I slipped my phone into my pocket and met her gaze, unyielding. Problem solved. No cruise, no one goes. The room froze, the silence a guillotine. Dad cleared his throat, his discomfort palpable. "Claire, you canceled the whole trip?" he mumbled. "Yup," I said, folding my arms. "I paid for it. My kids, my rules. If they're not going, nobody is." Margaret's face twisted, her composure cracking. "You're being ridiculous. The cruise is tomorrow. Do you know how much work I put into this?" I tilted my head, a predator sizing up prey. "Work? You mean swapping my kids for Lauren's without asking me? Tell Ava and Noah plans changed, just like you told me." Dad tried again, his voice pleading. "Honey, be reasonable. The trip's already paid for." "No, Dad," I snapped, my voice ice. "I paid for it. And I just unpaid it." Margaret shot to her feet, her eyes blazing. "You had no right." I stepped closer, my voice a low, dangerous hum. "You had no right to decide my kids are less than Lauren's. You thought you'd teach me a lesson. Here's mine. You don't control my generosity." For the first time, Dad hesitated, his brows furrowing as if a flicker of guilt pierced his silence. "You canceled everything?" he repeated softer. I nodded. "And I'm getting every cent back." Margaret's jaw dropped. "A refund?" I flashed my phone showing the email. "Full refund, corporate account perks. Hope you enjoyed your power trip. It lasted about 2 minutes." Her face drained of color, her fury a storm with nowhere to land. She stormed toward me, jabbing a finger into my chest. "You ungrateful little—" I cut her off, my voice a whip. "Ungrateful? For what? For you trashing my kids? For years of your insults while I played nice?" I counted on my fingers, each point a dagger. "You borrowed money for emergencies while my kids skipped new shoes. You called me selfish for taking a weekend off. You never defended Ethan or Sophie when Lauren's kids were propped up as perfect. And now you stole their dream vacation. That's not family, that's control." Dad stood, his hands raised. "Claire, let's calm down." "No," I roared, my voice shaking the walls. "I'm done being calm. I'm done with her, with Lauren, with this whole toxic circus." I grabbed my purse, my heart pounding with a strange, exhilarating freedom. "I'm going home to my kids, the ones you don't deserve." I slammed the door behind me, the echo ringing like a battle cry. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the weight of guilt. I felt alive. The Denver night was crisp, the kind that bites your cheeks and makes your breath fog. I sat in my car outside my father's Boulder estate, the engine still ticking from the drive. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the electric surge of defiance coursing through me. I'd just obliterated a $15,000 Alaskan cruise, a dream I'd crafted for my kids, Ethan and Sophie, because my stepmother, Margaret, dared to replace them with my sister Lauren's perfect twins, Ava and Noah. Her smug declaration that my kids were too chaotic to deserve it had lit a fuse I didn't know I had. Canceling the trip wasn't just revenge, it was a declaration of war, and I was ready for the fallout. My phone buzzed relentlessly, a digital assault from the family I'd just left reeling. Missed call, Margaret, 7. Missed call, Dad, 3. New message, Margaret. You will regret this, Claire. Call me now. I snorted, tossing the phone onto the passenger seat. Regret. The only thing I regretted was letting Margaret's venom poison my life for so long. I'd spent years swallowing her insults, her subtle digs about my parenting, my unruly kids, all while Dad played Switzerland, never picking a side. But tonight I'd drawn a line in the sand, no, in concrete, and I wasn't stepping back. As I pulled into my driveway, the porch light cast a warm glow over our modest ranch-style home. Inside, Ethan and Sophie were with my best friend Tara, who'd offered to babysit while I handled family business. Tara, a fiery paralegal with a knack for sniffing out BS, had warned me about Margaret months ago. She's a vulture, Claire. She'll peck at you until your bones unless you fight back. I hadn't listened then, but now I was all in. I stepped inside and Tara looked up from the couch, her auburn curls bouncing as she paused the Moana DVD the kids were glued to. Well, damn, she said, reading my face. You look like you just burned a village down. Spill, I kicked off my boots, glancing at Ethan and Sophie, who were sprawled on the rug, oblivious, singing along to Shiny. Later, I whispered, jerking my chin toward them. Tara nodded, but her eyes gleamed with anticipation. She knew a storm was brewing. After tucking the kids into bed, Sophie clutching her orca, Ethan muttering about polar bears, I poured Tara a glass of Pinot and collapsed onto the couch. My phone was still buzzing, now with texts from Lauren. You're unbelievable, Claire. Fix this or Mom will lose it. I ignored it and recounted the night to Tara, the cruise, Margaret's betrayal, my nuclear response. Her jaw dropped when I got to the refund. You canceled a 15-grand trip in 2 minutes? Claire, you're a freaking legend. I laughed, but it was brittle. Legend or lunatic? They're coming for me, Tara. Margaret, Lauren, probably Dad. This isn't over. She leaned forward, her lawyer brain kicking in. You've got that contract, right? The one Margaret signed? I nodded, pulling up the email on my phone. 2 months ago, my coworker Jake had urged me to protect myself. Margaret's shady. Claire, get it in writing. So I drafted a simple agreement. I'd cover the cruise costs, but it was for Ethan and Sophie. Any changes without my consent, and Margaret would owe me for non-refundable deposits, $4,000 for excursions, dining upgrades, and VIP perks. She'd signed it, probably thinking I'd never enforce it. Big mistake. Tara scanned the contract, grinning like a shark. This is gold. She breached it by swapping the kids. You could nail her for the deposits. I hesitated, the weight of suing family sinking in. I don't know, Tara, that's extreme. She raised an eyebrow. Extreme. She stole your kids' vacation and called them feral. Extreme is letting her get away with it. I sipped my wine, the idea simmering. Tara was right. Margaret had underestimated me, but so had Lauren. As if on cue, my doorbell rang, a furious pounding rhythm. Tara smirked. $10 says that's your sister. I groaned, hauling myself up. Sure enough, Lauren stood on my porch, her blonde bob immaculate despite the late hour, her Burberry coat screaming money. Claire, what the hell? She snapped, shoving past me before I could invite her in. Tara stayed on the couch, sipping her wine, clearly enjoying the show. Lauren spun to face me, her blue eyes blazing. You canceled the cruise? Are you insane? Ava and Noah were packed. They're heartbroken. I crossed my arms, unfazed. Heartbroken? Funny? That's how Ethan and Sophie would have felt when they found out Margaret kicked them off my trip. Lauren rolled her eyes, her signature move since we were kids. Oh, don't play the victim. Mom just thought my kids needed it more. You know how tough their year's been with the divorce. I laughed, sharp and cold. Tough? Lauren, your kids live in a McMansion with a nanny. My kids share a bedroom and wear hand-me-downs. I paid for that cruise, every cent for them, and Margaret didn't even ask me. Lauren huffed, tossing her hair. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. It's just a vacation. I stepped closer, my voice low, lethal. Just a vacation? It's my kid's dream, you entitled brat. And you let Mom steamroll me because you always get what you want. Lauren's face flushed, but she doubled down. Mom's right about your kids, Claire. They're out of control. Ethan broke a vase at Dad's last month, and Sophie never stops talking. Ava and Noah are polite. They listen. My blood boiled, but Tara's cough from the couch stopped me from lunging. Polite? I said, smirking. Or terrified of you and Mom? I'd rather have loud, happy kids than robots. Lauren's lips thinned, but she pivoted. Just fix it. Rebook the cruise. Don't turn this into a war. I leaned against the wall, savoring her desperation. Too late, sis. War's already started. And by the way, Mom's getting a bill for the non-refundable deposits. $4,000. Lauren's eyes widened, real panic flashing. What? You can't be serious. I pulled up the contract on my phone and shoved it in her face. Read it. She signed it. She owes me. Lauren's hand flew to her mouth. $4,000? Mom will freak. I grinned, relishing every second. Oh, I know, and next time she wants a free ride, she can book it herself. Lauren fumbled for her phone, already texting Margaret. You're going to destroy this family, she muttered, storming toward the door. I called after her, my voice dripping with venom. Tell Mom to lawyer up. I'm done playing nice. The door slammed and Tara burst out laughing. Claire, you're my hero, but seriously, you good. I exhaled, my adrenaline fading. I don't know, I just burned every bridge. The next morning, my phone was a battlefield. 23 missed calls. Margaret led the charge with 15, Dad had 5, Lauren 3. The texts were a mix of guilt trips and threats. Margaret, you've broken your father's heart. How can you live with yourself? Lauren, Mom's talking lawsuits. Fix this or you're done. Dad, sweetheart, can we talk? I rubbed my temples, the weight of their fury pressing down, but I wasn't backing off. Not this time. At breakfast, Ethan and Sophie sensed my tension. Mom, are we still going on the boat? Sophie asked, her voice small. My heart cracked. Not this time, baby, I said, brushing her cheek. But we'll do something even better. I promise, Ethan frowned. Did we do something bad? I shook my head, fierce. No way, buddy, you're perfect. This is grown-up stuff. Their trust in me fueled my resolve. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about protecting them. By noon, Tara texted, heard from Jake. Margaret's telling everyone you're unhinged. Want me to dig into her? I smirked, replying, let her talk. She's digging her own grave. But the calm was short-lived. At 2:47 p.m., my doorbell rang. Margaret in the flesh, her Prada sunglasses perched like armor. We need to talk, she barked, pushing past me. I let her, curious to see how low she'd sink. She spun on me, her face a mask of rage. You've gone too far, Claire. Canceling the cruise? Threatening me with a bill. You're a spoiled, selfish child. I smirked, unfazed. Selfish? That's rich, coming from the woman who stole my kid's vacation to play favorites. Her nostrils flared. You will fix this or I'll make your life hell. I stepped closer, my voice a blade. Try it, Margaret. I've got a contract, a refund, and zero patience. You're not in charge anymore. She froze, her eyes flickering with something new, fear. For the first time, she saw me, not as the pushover daughter, but as a force. This isn't over, she hissed, storming out. I locked the door, my heart pounding with triumph. But as I sank onto the couch, Dad's text lit up my phone. Claire, I'm sorry. Can we meet? Just us? I stared at it, torn. Was he finally waking up? Or was this another trap? The war was far from over, and I was just getting started. The Denver sky was a bruise of gray clouds mirroring the storm brewing inside me. It was Sunday, 2 days since I detonated a $15,000 Alaskan cruise, my kids' dream vacation, after my stepmother, Margaret, swapped Ethan and Sophie for my sister Lauren's better-behaved twins, Ava and Noah. Canceling the trip wasn't just a slap in her face, it was a seismic rebellion against years of her toxic control. Now, my phone was a war zone. 27 missed calls, a barrage of texts from Margaret's venomous demands to Lauren's whining pleas. Even Dad, usually a silent bystander, had texted, "Claire, I'm sorry, can we meet? Just us?" His words lingered, a faint crack in his usual neutrality. Was he finally seeing the damage Margaret had done, or was this another trap? I sat at my kitchen table, nursing a lukewarm coffee, the contract I'd made Margaret sign glowing on my laptop screen. It was my ace. She'd agreed to cover $4,000 in non-refundable deposits if she altered the cruise plans without my consent. By replacing my kids, she'd breached it, and I was ready to make her pay, literally. My best friend Tara, a paralegal with a nose for trouble, had already connected me with a lawyer friend, Mia, who'd reviewed the contract. "It's airtight, Claire," Mia had said over Zoom, her eyes gleaming. "You could drag Margaret to small claims court and win. She'd hate the public humiliation." The thought was intoxicating, but suing family felt like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. Still, I wasn't ruling it out. Ethan and Sophie were at the park with Tara, giving me a rare moment to breathe. I'd promised them a new adventure, maybe a weekend at Great Wolf Lodge, to replace the cruise, but their innocent questions haunted me. "Did we do something bad, Mom?" Ethan had asked, his brown eyes searching. Sophie's whisper, "Is Grandma mad at us?" had nearly broken me. This wasn't just about money or pride anymore. It was about shielding my kids from a family that treated them like second-class citizens. Margaret's voice echoed from our last fight. "Your kids are chaotic, Claire." Unruly. Ava and Noah deserved this. My blood boiled at the memory. Deserve? My kids deserved the world, and I'd burn every bridge to prove it. My phone buzzed again. Incoming. Call. Dad. I hesitated, my thumb hovering. Part of me wanted to ignore him, to let him stew in the mess he'd enabled. But another part, the little girl who still remembered him teaching me to ride a bike, hoped he'd finally take my side. I answered, my voice guarded. "Hey, Dad." His sigh was heavy, like he'd aged a decade. "Claire, sweetheart, can we talk? Just you and me, no Margaret." I leaned back, skeptical. Where and when? He suggested a coffee shop in Boulder, neutral ground, in an hour. "I'll be there," I said, hanging up. My gut churned. Was this a genuine olive branch or a setup? I texted Tara, "Meeting Dad. Keep the kids distracted?" She replied instantly, "Go get 'em, Tiger. I've got the munchkins. Update me." I grabbed my jacket, my resolve hardening. If Dad wanted to talk, fine. But I wasn't the pushover he remembered. I was Claire, the mom who'd canceled a cruise in 2 minutes and held a $4,000 sword over Margaret's head. Game on. The coffee shop, a cozy spot called Brew and Bean, smelled of roasted beans and cinnamon. Dad was already there, hunched in a corner booth, his gray hair thinning, his flannel shirt rumpled. He looked broken. Not the stoic Tom I'd grown up with, the one who dodged every family fight with a shrug. I slid into the booth, my posture rigid. "You wanted to talk, so talk." He flinched at my tone, his hands wrapping around a mug. "Claire, I'm sorry. I didn't know Margaret was going to do that to the kids." I raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Didn't know or didn't care? You were there, Dad, when she announced it. You said nothing." He looked away, guilt etching his face. "I should have stopped her. I hate conflict. You know that." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Yeah, I know. You've been dodging conflict since Mom died. But your silence, it's not neutral. It's choosing Margaret over me, over my kids, every damn time." His eyes widened like I'd slapped him. Maybe I had. "Claire, I never meant..." He started, but I cut him off, my voice low, lethal. You let her call Ethan and Sophie feral. You let her steal their vacation, my vacation that I paid for, and you sat there mute. If she'd done that to Lauren's kids, would you have stayed quiet? He opened his mouth, then closed it, his silence louder than any answer. That's what I thought, I said, leaning back. You've picked your side for years, Dad. Don't pretend you're neutral now. He rubbed his face, his voice cracking. I messed up, okay? I see that. Margaret, she's tough to handle. But I love you, and I love Ethan and Sophie. I want to fix this. I studied him, searching for sincerity. Was this real, or was he just scared of losing me? Fix it how? I asked, my tone icy. You gonna stand up to her? Tell her she's wrong? Or are you just here to beg me to rebook the cruise so you don't have to deal with her tantrum? He winced, and I knew I'd hit the mark. Before he could answer, the bell above the door jingled, and Lauren stormed in, her designer boots clicking like gunfire. Of course, Margaret must have sent her as backup. She spotted us and marched over, her face a mask of fury. Claire, you're unbelievable, she spat, not bothering to sit. Mom's a wreck, Dad's a mess, and you're sitting here like you didn't just ruin everything. I smirked, unfazed. Nice to see you too, Lauren. What's the problem now? Mom's mad she's got to pay me $4,000? Her eyes flashed, but Dad held up a hand. Lauren, this is between me and Claire. She ignored him, jabbing a finger at me. You're so selfish, Claire. Ava and Noah were counting on that trip. You broke their hearts because you couldn't handle Mom's decision. I stood, meeting her eye to eye, my voice a blade. Her decision? She stole my kid's vacation, Lauren. I paid for it, every cent. And you? You just clapped like a trained seal because you always get what you want. Lauren's jaw dropped, but I wasn't done. You want to talk broken hearts? Try explaining to Ethan why Grandma thinks he's not good enough. Try watching Sophie cry because she thinks she did something wrong. That's on you and Mom. Dad's voice was soft, pleading. Girls, please. But Lauren cut him off, her voice rising. You're blowing this out of proportion. It's just a cruise. I laughed, cold and cutting. Just a cruise. It's my kid's dream, you spoiled princess. And that $4,000 Mom owes me? That's just the start. Keep pushing. And I'll see her in court. Lauren paled, her bravado crumbling. Court? You'd sue Mom? I leaned in, my smile venomous. Try me. I've got a contract, a lawyer, and nothing to lose. Dad stood, his hands shaking. Enough, both of you. For the first time in years, his voice had weight. Lauren froze, and I raised an eyebrow, curious. He turned to me, his eyes glistening. Claire, I'm sorry. I've been a coward. I let Margaret run things because it was easier, but I see it now. Your kids, they're amazing. They don't deserve this. My throat tightened, but I held my ground. Words are cheap, Dad. What are you going to do about it? He took a deep breath, his voice steadying. I'm talking to Margaret tonight. She's got to make this right. Pay you back, apologize, whatever it takes. And if she won't... He hesitated, then met my gaze. I'll handle it. I blinked, stunned. Was this my father, the man who dodged every fight since I was 12? Lauren scoffed. Dad, you can't be serious. Mom's right. Claire's out of control. He turned to her, his voice firm. No, Lauren, Claire's right. We've let Margaret call the shots too long. It stops now. The air shifted, heavy with the weight of his words. Lauren's face twisted, but she said nothing, storming out with a huff. I sat back down, my mind reeling. Dad reached for my hand, his grip warm, hesitant. I don't know how to fix this, Claire, but I want to try. For you, for the kids. I pulled my hand back, not ready to trust. Prove it, Dad. I've heard promises before. He nodded, his eyes sad but determined. I will. That night I tucked Ethan and Sophie into bed, their questions quieter but no less painful. Mom, is Grandpa mad too? Sophie whispered. I kissed her forehead, fierce. No, baby, Grandpa loves you. This is just grown-ups being silly." Ethan hugged me tight, his voice muffled. "I don't need a boat, Mom. I just want you." My heart shattered and rebuilt itself, stronger. They were my why, my everything. As I sipped wine on the couch, Tara called, her voice buzzing with gossip. "Girl, word is Margaret's telling everyone you're unstable." But Jake heard Dad stood up to her at home, first time ever. "You believe it?" I smiled, a spark of hope flickering. "Maybe. We'll see." But Margaret's last text glowed on my phone. "This isn't over, Claire. You'll pay." I laughed, unafraid. Let her come. I was ready. The Denver morning was sharp, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and wakes you up. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the contract on my laptop, the legal dagger I held over my stepmother, Margaret. It had been 3 days since I'd canceled the $15,000 Alaskan cruise meant for my kids, Ethan and Sophie, after Margaret replaced them with my sister Lauren's twins, Ava and Noah, deeming mine too chaotic. That betrayal had ignited a fire in me, one that burned through years of her manipulation and my father's silence. Now, with a $4,000 bill for non-refundable deposits hanging over Margaret's head, I was at a crossroads. Pursue justice in court or seek peace. But peace with Margaret? That felt like surrendering to a viper. My phone was a graveyard of notifications. 32 missed calls, texts from Margaret's rants to Lauren's threats, and one from Dad, who'd surprised me yesterday at Brew and Bean by admitting his cowardice. "I'll make this right, Claire," he'd promised, vowing to confront Margaret. I wanted to believe him, but trust was a fragile thing, and he'd broken mine too many times. Ethan and Sophie were my anchor, their innocent questions. Is Grandma still mad? Fueling my resolve to protect them. This wasn't just about money, it was about proving my kids were enough, that I was enough. Tara, my paralegal best friend, had been my war counsel, her texts a mix of hype and strategy. Mia says the contract's a slam dunk. Margaret's screwed if you sue. Mia, Tara's lawyer friend, had offered to file in small claims court, predicting Margaret would cave to avoid public embarrassment. The thought of her squirming in a courtroom was delicious, but a nagging voice, maybe the old Claire, the one who craved family, whispered, "Is this worth it?" I pushed it down. Margaret had drawn first blood. I'd finish the fight. At 10:03 a.m., my doorbell rang, a polite chime that didn't fool me. I opened it to find Margaret, her Prada scarf a stark contrast to the fury in her eyes, and a new player, a man in a tailored suit clutching a briefcase. "Claire," Margaret said, her voice ice. "This is Mr. Hargrove, my attorney. We're here to settle this misunderstanding." I smirked, leaning against the doorframe. "Misunderstanding? You mean you stealing my kid's vacation? Come in, counselor, let's chat." They sat at my dining table, Hargrove's cologne clashing with Margaret's perfume. He cleared his throat, all business. "Ms. Thompson, my client acknowledges a lapse in communication regarding the cruise. She's prepared to reimburse the $4,000 deposits to avoid litigation." Margaret's lips twitched, like the words tasted sour. I tilted my head, savoring her discomfort. "Reimburse? That's cute. But it's not just about the money, Hargrove. It's about her thinking she can control me, my kids, my life." Margaret leaned forward, her voice a hiss. "You're blowing this out of proportion, Claire. I was doing what's best for the family." I laughed, sharp and cold. "Your family, maybe. The one where Lauren's kids are golden and mine are trash. You signed a contract, Margaret. You breached it. And now you're scared because I'm not your doormat anymore." Hargrove shifted, glancing at her. "Miss Thompson, litigation would be costly for both parties. We're offering a fair resolution." I stood, pacing, my voice rising. "Fair? Let's talk fair. For years you've insulted my parenting, my kids. You borrowed money for emergencies while Ethan wore second-hand sneakers. You called me selfish for taking a day off, then turned around and planned spa weekends with Lauren. And now you stole a trip I paid for because my kids aren't polite enough for you. That's not family, Margaret. That's tyranny." Her face reddened, but I wasn't done. You thought I'd roll over. Big mistake. I've got a lawyer, a contract, and a refund. You've got nothing but your ego. Hargrove scribbled notes, his calm fraying. Ms. Thompson, emotional grievances aren't actionable. The $4,000 is the extent of your claim. I grinned, predator to prey. Oh, I'm not just claiming the money. I want an apology, public, written, to Ethan and Sophie. Admit you were wrong to cut them out. Do that, and maybe I won't drag you to court. Margaret's eyes widened, her breath hitching. An apology? You're delusional. I shrugged. Then see you in court. Mia's itching to file. The room crackled with tension. Hargrove whispered to Margaret, who shook her head, furious. Before she could retort, my phone buzzed. Incoming call. Dad, I answered, putting it on speaker. Claire. Dad's voice was strained. I'm at the house with Lauren. Margaret didn't tell me about this lawyer nonsense. I'm sorry. Margaret's face drained of color. I raised an eyebrow. Dad, you're on speaker. Say that again. He hesitated, then steadier. Margaret, you were wrong. Claire's right. Ethan and Sophie deserved that trip. I'm done letting you run this family. Margaret's jaw dropped, her control slipping. Hargrove looked like he wanted to bolt. I leaned in, my voice low, lethal. Game over, Margaret. Pay the $4,000, write the apology, or I'll see you in court, and I'll make sure everyone in Boulder knows what you did. She sputtered, but Dad's voice cut through. Do it, Margaret, or we're done. The word done hung like a guillotine. For the first time, Margaret looked small, cornered. Hargrove stood, smoothing his tie. We'll draft a settlement. The funds and apology will be delivered by tomorrow. Margaret shot him a glare but said nothing, storming out with him trailing. I locked the door, my heart pounding with triumph. Dad's call was still active. Claire, he said softly, I mean it. I'm trying. I exhaled, torn. I know, Dad. Keep trying. I hung up, the silence peaceful, powerful. That night I took Ethan and Sophie to a local diner, their laughter washing away the day's tension. Mom, can we still see whales someday? Sophie asked, ketchup on her chin. I grinned, fierce. You bet, kiddo. We'll make our own adventure. Ethan high-fived me, and for the first time in years I felt free. Not just from Margaret, but from the weight of a family that never valued us. The next morning, an email arrived. $4,000 transferred, plus a typed apology from Margaret, stiff but clear. I regret my decision to alter the cruise plans and acknowledge Ethan and Sophie's right to the trip. Tara whooped when I showed her, but I was already planning. The money would fund a new trip, maybe Yellowstone, just us three. As for Margaret, she'd fade into the background, her power broken. Dad texted later, I'm proud of you, Claire. I didn't reply, but I saved it. Maybe, just maybe, we'd rebuild. I sat on my couch, wine in hand, reflecting. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about boundaries, about teaching my kids they were worth fighting for. I'd faced the dragon and won, not with fire, but with steel. The family I'd clung to was broken, but I was building a new one, brick by brick, with Ethan, Sophie, and the people who saw our worth. The future was ours, and no one, not Margaret, not Lauren, could take that away. Wow, what a ride, right? I hope Claire's story of standing up to betrayal and reclaiming her power hit you as hard as it hit me. Have you ever faced a family drama like this? Or maybe you've got your own tale of fighting back? Drop it in the comments. I'm dying to hear. And hey, if you love this saga, smash that like button, subscribe for more juicy stories, and ring the bell so you don't miss a single one. Oh, and one last thing. Where did you hear this story? Let me know if it was YouTube, a friend, or somewhere else in the wild internet. Until next time, stay fierce and keep shining.